On episode 1 of the IntentionALL podcast, we got to do something super special. We had my father, Matt DJ, as a guest on the IntentionALL podcast. And it was a very special moment for me because there is no other man on the planet that has had a greater impact on my life than Matt DJ, my father. So it was a really cool moment to sit down with him and put a lot of things in documentation form that we can go back to and listen and reference, because I know a lot of the interactions I've had with him, conversations, what he stands for, his principles, but I was able to take that and put that into a video format. So very excited about that. I'll go through the recap of this podcast. Go check out the full episode and the other ones that we have available as well. But the takeaways from the interview with my father, Matt DJ, I'll start with number 1 and some key points in his story. The first one is he went through a pretty big school transition when he was just a young boy. He went from a public school, transitioned to a private school. And oddly enough, what he noticed though when he went from the public school to the private school, Christian private school, is that the kids were super mean to him. They rejected him, they took his stuff, they bullied him. And through this, he realized that he had to make a decision. He's like, I'm in a Christian community. They're not acting like Christians. Why is Christianity true? Do I believe Christianity? And there was a time where he was challenged with this question. And the Lord pushed on his heart and showed him through his word and asked him a very simple question, not audibly, but will you follow me? And that's the question every single person must answer. Will you follow me? It's an individual choice. It's not based on what other people are doing. You go back to the Word of God and look at what it says, and you ask yourself, will I obey? So that was a cool transition, very key piece of his story where he realized that your faith is your own. It's a decision that you make. It's not based on what other people are doing. So it is an individual choice. The second one is when he went into the army. There was a big challenge, big pushback. The culture in the army was not super excited. It's not very cultivating of, let's say, Christian growth. So there is ultimately a stand that he had to take while he was in the military. Just circumstantially, there was a challenge that was placed in front of him. And essentially, it came to the question of, will you stand for me in front of other people? Will you stand for the morals, principles, and values of the Bible? And will you choose to acknowledge my name before men? If you look at Matthew chapter 10, there's a verse in there that says, he who acknowledges me before man, I will acknowledge before my Father. And this was that opportunity for him to do so. And he ended up having a one-on-one conversation with his drill sergeant saying, here's the reasons I can't say these things, and it's because I'm a Christian, and this is what I believe. And the drill sergeant, that sergeant, ended up having a lot of respect for him for that stand that he was willing to take during his time in the military. And then the last one that I'll touch on quickly is when he transitioned into real estate. He bought his first rental property. He was doing all the work himself, got it rented, got everything squared away. Okay, all the hard work is done. It's rented. Property number 1 is done. On to the next. And then something happened. The property completely flooded. The basement completely flooded at the property. So furnace is gone. Appliances are gone. Hot water heater completely destroyed. So all this hard work right out the window. All the returns. Hopefully the cash flow for the next year, it's gone. Just like that with water. And what I love about this is if you only take that picture, if you only take that frame of the story, you're like, real estate investing is a terrible idea. But he kept that house. He did all the work. He revamped it. He borrowed some money actually to repair the house and then rented it out again. And eventually he did another house and another house and another house and another house. And he used what he learned at the first house to roll into the rest of his career as a real estate investor. He's still going on as a real estate investor. And that's the thing I love about that is the resilience factor, is if you give up when the first hurdle arises, you're not going to enjoy all the benefits of the learning that you get to compound into every other deal and every other aspect. So just the beautiful reality and the payoff of resilience when you face hardship. The next key principle that he touched on was prioritizing. And it's a very simple phrase that I've heard him say so many times. If you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. A lot of people just look at, I'm going to say yes to this, I'm going to say yes to this, I'm going to say yes to this, with no thought whatsoever of, if I'm saying yes to this, at the very same time that I'm doing this activity, there's another activity that I'm choosing not to do. Often, or sometimes, this one is like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with saying yes to this and no to everything else, and that's how it is, and that's fine. But you must evaluate, what am I saying no to? Oh, if I say yes to this, I'm actually going to be saying no to these other possibilities or this one thing, and that's really important to me. You have to look at your priorities and say, oh no, that doesn't line up with my priorities at all. Push that to the side and say no to that. So prioritizing that phrase of, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Third one is managing expectations. In relationships, it's an ongoing thing that never ends, and you must be initiating it. You must take responsibility and you must initiate those conversations. Maybe it's with an employee, maybe it's with a business partner, maybe it's with a personal relationship. And often, the longer, let me rephrase, every time you wait to have the conversation, it will compound into something worse. It will get harder to bring it up. So if it's something that you should address right now, don't procrastinate and just initiate that conversation. As hard as it is to have it right now, it will be immeasurably harder down the road. So always initiate those conversations and manage expectations. You can't always do it perfectly, but as much as you can in this realm, in this realm, in this realm, try to manage the expectations. If you're able to do that as much as possible on the front end, if you're able to bring down, let's say you're not doing it at all, you are managing 70, 80% of the expectations, you're going to eliminate so many problems down the road because things are clear up front before you get started. Next one is, if you want it to happen, you can make it happen if it matters to you. Because no one else is going to tell you to allocate this much time to this much time to this, say no to this thing, say yes to this other thing. If it matters to you, you can make it happen. He had a very foundational meeting with a pastor when he was working on that journey, and there was a pastor that was mentoring him, and that pastor told him something very important. He said, no one will guard your family like you will. It won't happen. You are the only one who can guard your family time, your family worship, this, that, the culture, TV, everything else in culture is trying to steal away your family time. Everything. They're trying to get into your family, penetrate your family. The culture does not want families to be godly, to do family worship, to have the man be the leader of the home, to lead spiritually. Doesn't want any of that. So you have to, at all times, take responsibility and lead in all those ways. Because if you don't initiate, no one else will. And that principle applies to every other aspect of life. Whatever it might be, you must operate with personal responsibility. And the thing I love about my father is that with all the things going on, he is trying to serve the Lord. That is the underlying purpose and foundation for what he does, how he operates, how he thinks, how he formulates. It's serving the Lord. 3 words that I'm going to end with that I think summarize a lot of these points: delayed gratification, distractions, removing those, removing the right distractions, and discomfort. Often growth comes from discomfort. Those are the 3 words that, as I reflected on the interview, they came to mind instantly, and apparently they all start with the same letter, which is cool. But delayed gratification, which means doing the daily hard work now, but being patient also for the long-term result. Number 2 is removing distractions, because when you remove all the distractions that you don't need in your life, that are pointless, that aren't moving you in the right direction, then you will actually get the results that you want. The last one is discomfort, because growth always comes from discomfort. And as I interview more people every single time, when they tell a story about discomfort and they stuck with it, they stayed through it, they look back on that time of discomfort and they say, I grew immensely in that time period. When I was in the discomfort, I did not know I was growing. Trust me, I hated it. But when I look back retrospect, I see that I grew immensely from the discomfort.